Alright, this is Scholar Strife doing some math. Today in Algebra 1 we'll be solving proportions using cross products. So first off, we're going to define a few things. So you guys should know what a ratio is. A ratio is a fraction. Two numbers being compared as a fraction. And it's stuff like miles per hour, miles per gallon, price per gallon, stuff like that. Proportions is when we have two ratios equaling each other. So two fractions equaling each other. So, like here's one fraction. So I'm using letters again. And here's another fraction. The first and last terms are the extremes. And you shouldn't need to remember this, but that's what they're called. So the top left and the bottom right are called extremes. And the means are called, so A and D, B and C are called the means. Cross product is whenever we have a ratio equaling a ratio, we're allowed to take our diagonals and multiply them together. Thus making a cross and becoming a product, cross product. And we're able to do more examples below. And then a scale, it's the same scale that you see on a map. Or if you're looking at a model. It's just a relationship between a drawing or a model versus the real thing. So example 1, solve the proportion. So we're going to use a cross product. So just make an x. So that's my cross there. So what it means is you take your diagonals and multiply each other. So I have 5 times 75 equals 15y. Okay, so 5 times 75 is a big number. $375 equals 15y. And then to get y by itself, remember we divide, since it's being multiplied by 15, we're going to divide by 15 to both sides, and we'll get y equals 375 divided by 15. Can't do it in my head right now. $25. All right, and that's how the cross product works. So you just make an x for your equal sign. Now this only works when it's fraction equaling a fraction. So to feed your plants, you need to mix 3 tablespoons of plant food with 16 ounces of water. If it takes 80 ounces of water to feed all your plants, how many tablespoons of plant food do you need? Okay, so they give us a little hint here. Plant food over water equals, so we need to mix 3 tablespoons of plant food for every 16 ounces of water. Alright? And they want to know how many tablespoons of plant food did we need if we did 80 ounces of water. So how many tablespoons did we need for 80 ounces of water? So that's how we build our ratio here. So I'm going to do cross product. So boom, boom. And I'll get 16x equals 3 times 80. So 16x equals 240. Divide both sides by 16. And I'll get x equals 15. I think. Let me make sure. Yes. Okay. So that means you needed 15. Sorry, that's not the whole answer. X equals 15 tablespoons of plant food for 80 ounces of water. Solid proportions. Check your answers. Okay. So I noticed that on this side I can reduce this. So I'm going to reduce first. So whenever, always try to simplify first. So these can be both to be divided by 5. So I have 5 over n on the left, and then on the right, I've transformed it into 5 over 9. Okay, now I can do my cross multiplication. Even though it's kind of obvious what n is now, if you look at the difference between left and right. But we're going to do our cross multiplication to show our work. So 9 times 5 equals 5 times n. So I'll get 45 over here. 5n. So divide by 5. And look at what we got. N equals 9. And then to check your work, you'd plug it back into the equation and make sure you got the same thing. Which, if I plug it into this one here, it's a lot easier to see, but you're right. All right, next, part B. So this one is a bit different. So we're still gonna do our cross multiplication. So this is 6 times the quantity b minus 2. So you got to be careful. When they have multiple things down here, put it in parentheses. This is in parentheses here. Equals 3 times b. So now this is 6b minus 6 times 2, which is 12. Equals 36. Trying to get b by itself, so I'm going to add 12 to both sides and get 6b equals 48. Divide by 6 to get b equals 8. In example 2, suppose it takes 120 ounces to feed all the plants. How many tablespoons of plant food are needed? So going back to example 2, they said 3 tablespoons for 16 ounces. So 3 tablespoons for 16 ounces. And now they want to know If I have 120 ounces, this is here, let's just say 16 ounces and 120 ounces. Now they want to know how many tablespoons for 120. Okay. So 3 times 120, cross multiplication, cross product. 3 times 120 equals 16x. 360 equals 16x. Gonna have to use a calculator for this one. I think. Actually, no. Oh yeah, I do. And you got one way to do this without a calculator. So I'm going to divide 16 by both sides. And I'm going to reduce this fraction. So if you don't know right away, it's usually a good idea to try using 2. So I'm going to divide both the top and bottom by 2. So I have x equals, so we have 360 over 16. So if I divide both those by 2, I'll get 180 over 8. Okay. And if I do that again, I'll get 90 over 4. If I do that again, I'll get x equals, so I'm just dividing by 2. If you don't know what to divide by, it's always a good guess to try 2. This is 45 divided by 2. So, this is 22.5 tablespoons. Of plant food. So x equals 22.5 tablespoons of plant food. An architect creates a scale model of a school. The school is 50 feet high. The ratio of the model to the actual school is 1 foot to 75 feet. Estimate the height of the model. Estimate the height of the model. That's not if, that's of. So we have our scale. Scale height is 1 foot to 75 feet. So 1 foot on our scale represents 75 feet in real life. And we want to know we want to know the height of the model over, we know that the school is actually 50 feet high. So I'm going to do my cross multiplication, boom, boom, and get 50 equals 75x. So I divide by 75, and I'll get x equals, so notice how 50 over 75, they both can be divided by 25. So this becomes 2 over 3. So this becomes x equals 2/3 feet. 2/3 of a foot. Or 8 inches. Is that right? Yeah. 12, that's 8 inches. 12 inches in a foot, 2/3 of a foot is 8 inches, yep. In example 3, suppose the ratio of the model to the actual school is 1 foot to 100 feet. So estimate the height of the model. So again, the scale now is 1 foot to 100. Oops. Oh wait, suppose the ratio of the model, yeah, yep. So this time they're changing the scale. 1 foot is 100 feet actually. And then we still got our X, that's the model now, and this is 50 feet. So 50 equals 100x. So this would be, if I divide by 100, x would be a half of a foot. So 0.5 feet, 6 inches. And that is all for today. Have a good one. So cross products, remember, you can only do this with 2 fractions equaling each other. You just multiply diagonally and then set them equal to each other.